There's something strange and beautiful that begins to happen the moment you stop trying to control everything. It's not giving up. It's not surrendering to defeat. It's something far gentler, like loosening your grip on the river and letting it flow in its own way. The tighter you hold on, the more exhausted you become. The more you worry about the future, the more disconnected you feel from the life that's unfolding right now. And then at some point you realize life doesn't need you to steer it. It just needs you to take one step back, breathe deeply, and let the natural rhythm of the universe unfold on its own. In those moments when you stop interfering, something quietly miraculous begins to happen. Life starts working with you, not against you. And that's when you begin a different kind of journey, the journey of letting go, to rediscover peace, freedom, and inner growth. So now, I invite you to reflect on 8 timeless Buddhist lessons, each one a gentle doorway guiding you out of anxiety and back home to yourself. 1. Letting go is the beginning of growth. Have you ever felt like you were living inside a small box, even though the world around you was vast and full of opportunity? Here's the strange truth. No one else put you in that box. It was your own fear. Fear that stepping out would lead to failure. Fear that speaking up would bring judgment. Fear that loving again would mean getting hurt. Little by little, those fears quietly shrink your inner world until you begin to hide even from yourself. You shrink your dreams because you're afraid you're not good enough. You hold back your voice because you fear rejection. You suppress your emotions because you've been hurt before. None of this comes from the outside. It all begins within, from the grip of fear control and the inability to let go. In Buddhist teachings, we learn that worry doesn't protect you from the bad. It only steals away the good that's trying to find you. It's like standing in a river and trying to hold water in clenched fists. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. But when you relax your hands, when you soften your grip, water gently gathers in your open palms. Life works the same way. You can't hold on to peace by grasping tightly at everything. Control doesn't make you stronger. In fact, it drains your spirit, puts you on the defensive, and traps you in constant fear of things that haven't even happened yet. But when you begin to let go, mindfully, gently, something sacred happens. You don't become weaker. You begin to grow. True growth doesn't mean mastering everything. It means knowing what to hold on to and what to release. It means understanding that you may not be able to control the outcome, but you can choose your attitude. It means realizing that sometimes doing nothing is the wisest action of all. Many of us grow up believing that to be strong means to control, to plan, to hold on. But the Dharma doesn't teach us to become rigid or cold. It teaches us to be like water. Water in Buddhism is a symbol of both wisdom and compassion. It flows around rocks, not through them. It bends with the current, dances over cliffs, falls into valleys, and never loses its nature. It finds its way, not by force, but by softness. Letting go isn't weakness. It takes deep courage. Courage to step outside your old patterns. Courage to look inward. Courage to admit there are things I cannot control, and that's okay. Ask yourself, How much of your life is being limited by things you're afraid to release? How many dreams have you set aside because you feared failing? How many times have you stayed silent, not because you were at peace, but because you were afraid to speak? Every time you let go of one small thing, you make more space within your heart. You reclaim energy that was trapped in fear. And right then, quietly, gently, growth begins. You stop shrinking. You start becoming. So the next time you catch yourself worrying, pause for a moment. Don't push the fear away. Don't fight it. Instead, look at it gently, like you would a friend trying to warn you. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to too tightly? Do I really need to carry this? Is this helping me grow, or is it keeping me small? If the answer is no, maybe it's time to open your hands. Letting go never takes away what's meant for you. It only releases what's been holding you back, and in the space that's freed, something beautiful begins to grow quietly like a sprout, breaking through the soil. Silent, soft, but full of life. 2. Fear is a seed. What you plant will grow. There's something strange and deeply true about fear. It doesn't take much to grow. Just one tiny seed planted unknowingly in the mind can slowly take root. And over time, it begins to spread, quietly taking over your entire inner world. In the teachings of the Buddha, the mind is often compared to soil. And like any soil, it doesn't judge what's planted. It doesn't ask whether the seed is good or bad. It simply nourishes whatever you place in it. If you plant peace, the mind will help it grow. But if you plant fear, doubt, or panic, those too will take root and flourish. Have you noticed this happening in your own life? The moment you begin to fear losing your job, even the most ordinary days start to feel heavy. You speak more cautiously. You act more carefully. You stop taking initiative. You start doubting your skills, your worth, even your luck. And ironically, that fear pushes you closer to the very thing you were afraid of. Your confidence shrinks. Your creativity fades. And eventually, the job becomes unstable for real. Not because of fate, but because the seed of fear was given space to grow. The same thing happens in relationships. If you carry the fear of being abandoned, you might become clingy, controlling, suspicious. You're no longer your natural self. You hold on too tightly. You become guarded, trying to protect yourself from imagined pain. And that very tension, the energy of fear, starts to suffocate the relationship. The warmth and ease that once existed begin to fade. It's not that life is against you. It's that fear within you has started shaping how you live, how you love, and how you react to everything. In Buddhism, we're reminded, the mind is the forerunner of all things. The mind is the maker. The mind leads the way. The mind is the soil, and you are the gardener. Every thought you hold, every emotion you repeat becomes a seed dropped into that soil. Whether or not you're aware, those seeds are being nourished every day. The more you water fear and worry, the more they grow. But if you return to mindfulness, to your breath, to awareness, you give seeds of peace a chance to bloom. So, the real question isn't, do I have fear? It's, which seeds am I watering today? Many people in this world are successful, intelligent, and driven. Yet inside, they're constantly afraid. Afraid of losing money. Afraid of being unloved. Afraid of failure. And then there are others who live simple lives, no fame, no wealth. But inside, they're peaceful. Why? Because they've learned to be selective about what they nurture in their minds. And you can do the same. You can start by simply observing your thoughts throughout the day. Every time a fearful or negative thought appears, like I'm not good enough, or they're probably going to leave me, pause. Don't react. Take a breath and ask yourself, is this thought helping me feel more peaceful, or is it feeding more fear? If the answer is, it's making me anxious, then let it go gently, like a dried up leaf returning to the earth. Don't hold on to it, because here's something powerful to remember. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. And as the observer, you get to choose which ones to keep, which ones to release, which ones to water, and which ones to let fade away. Every thought is a seed. Every moment of awareness is an act of gardening. And you are the gardener of your inner world. So take care of your garden. Be mindful of what you plant, and tend to it with presence, patience, and peace. 3. Stop writing disaster scripts in your head. Have you ever lost sleep over something that hasn't even happened? You're lying awake in the middle of the night, your heart racing, your mind spiraling, imagining everything that could go wrong. What if they're mad at me? What if I fail tomorrow? What if everything falls apart? Those thoughts start to play out like a movie in your head. But it's a movie with no ending and no audience but you. The truth is, this is more common than we like to admit. We all do it. The human mind, just as the Buddha taught, is a master storyteller. It has an incredible capacity to imagine, to create scenarios, to write full dialogues with people who aren't even present. If you've ever spent an hour arguing with someone in your head, even though they weren't in the room, then yes, you've been the director of your own private disaster film. But here's what's important. Most of the things we fear never actually happen. You were nervous about that difficult conversation, but when it finally happened, it went just fine. You were convinced someone was upset with you, but it turned out they were just busy. You prepared yourself for the worst-case scenario, but life ended up being a lot kinder than you expected. Buddhism invites us to look honestly at this habit. Our worry doesn't live in the present. It lives in imagination. We're not anxious because of what's happening. We're anxious because of what might happen. When your mind isn't anchored in mindfulness, it tends to drift. And that's when it starts building stories that can cause as much suffering as any real-life event. A single unverified thought can ruin your entire day. One assumed comment can keep you awake all night. All because you started believing in the script your mind was writing. So what's the solution? It's not trying to stop your thoughts. It's learning to recognize them. When a wave of worry rises, just pause. Don't react. Don't believe it right away. Look deeper and ask, is this really happening? Or is this just something I made up in my head? This may seem like a simple question, but it has the power to dissolve countless fears that were never rooted in reality to begin with. Let's say you're thinking, I'm definitely going to fail that presentation tomorrow. Stop. Breathe. Then ask, have I failed yet? Or is this just fear speaking through me? Maybe you've never even given a presentation before. Maybe you're just replaying what someone else once told you. But the truth is, the situation hasn't even happened yet. So what are you really anxious about, reality, or a movie you've made up in your mind? In meditation, there's a practice called returning to the present. When you notice your mind starting to write stories, come back to your breath. Put your hand over your heart and feel it beating. Notice the room around you. Listen to the sounds. Feel the weight of your feet on the ground. Those things are real. The script in your head, it's just a thought passing through. As the Buddha once said, thoughts are just phenomena. They arise and pass away like clouds moving across the sky. You don't have to believe every thought your mind throws at you. Not every thought deserves your trust. You have the right to pause, to question, to choose. You even have the right not to believe. It's like receiving a letter in the mail. You can open it or not. But if you open every letter, even the threatening ones full of lies, you'll live in constant stress. Your mind sends you letters every day, but you get to decide which ones are real and which ones are just imagination. So the next time you catch yourself writing a disaster script in your head, put the pen down. You don't have to keep writing it. You don't have to believe it'll come true. You can fold up that page and come back to what's actually here, because peace isn't found in the story. It's found in the moment, right where you are, if only you pause long enough to notice it. 4. Let go of control to restore your faith. We often believe that if we don't control everything, everything will fall apart. We try to control our work, other people's emotions, the outcomes of situations, even the future itself. But how many of us have stopped to ask, when I'm constantly trying to control everything, do I actually feel at peace? Or does holding on too tightly only make you feel more anxious? The truth is, behind the need to control, there's always a deeper insecurity. You're afraid that if you don't do enough, things will fall apart. You're afraid that if you don't intervene, someone will disappoint you. You're afraid that if you don't hold tightly, what matters most might slip away. And so you live in a state of constant tension, always on guard, always under pressure, as if the whole world would stop turning if you let go of the reins for just a moment. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control, the more you lose the peace you're so desperately trying to find. In the Buddha's teachings, there is a powerful concept called letting go. Not to be confused with giving up or being irresponsible. Letting go means that after you've done everything you can aligned with wisdom, compassion, and right action, you release your grip on the outcome. You act mindfully and then allow karma and the natural flow of life to do their part. Because you cannot force the results of your actions through sheer will. That's where faith begins. True faith isn't about controlling what happens. It's about trusting that something larger is unfolding, something guided by the law of cause and effect, by a deeper intelligence you don't always get to see. You are not here to command the river. You're here to learn how to swim in it with grace and awareness. When you act with integrity, clarity, and compassion, what's left to do is breathe and let go. Not because you don't care, but because you understand there's a point at which the result is no longer in your hands. A person with faith is not passive. They simply know when to act and when to step back and trust. So often, we control not because we're strong, but because we're afraid we're not enough. And in trying to prove our worth, we lose our softness, our gentleness, the very qualities that make us lovable and real. Learning to let go of control is learning to trust the intelligence of life, to trust that sometimes what doesn't happen is exactly what was meant to protect you, that when one door closes, maybe it was the wrong door, that what's truly meant for you, if you've planted the right seeds, will come not always on your schedule, but right on time. Letting go of control doesn't mean laziness or carelessness. In fact, it takes deep inner strength to do, because you need enough mindfulness to know when to act, and enough courage to know when to step aside. Think of someone holding a butterfly tightly in their hand. The more afraid they are of losing it, the tighter they grip. And what happens? They unintentionally harm the very thing they love. But if they gently open their palm, maybe the butterfly stays longer. And even if it flies away, it flies free, and they are left with a peaceful heart. That's a lesson many of us still need to learn. When you stop trying to control everything, you begin to trust that what comes is what's meant to come. And when that trust sets in, your chest softens, your breath deepens, your eyes become gentler, and something miraculous happens. Life begins to move with you, not against you. Not because you forced it to happen, but because you became open enough to receive what was already trying to find you. 5. Real strength comes from mindful surrender. There are moments in life when you've done everything you could, planned carefully, worked tirelessly, paid attention to every detail, and yet the outcome still slips out of your hands. What you hoped for doesn't happen, or it shows up in a way you never expected. In those moments, many people feel defeated. They think, maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe I failed. But often, the truth isn't that you didn't try hard enough. It's that you didn't know when to let go. You hadn't yet learned one of life's greatest lessons. Real strength doesn't always come from holding on. It comes from mindful surrender. Now, I know the word surrender sounds weak. It might remind you of giving up, losing, or quitting. But in Buddhist wisdom, surrender isn't about defeat. It's about letting go of the illusion that you can control everything. It's about acting with full awareness and then softening your grip, stepping back, and allowing life to do the rest. Think of it like planting a seed. You water it, care for the soil, make sure it gets sunlight. You do your part, but you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. That would only damage it. You trust the process. Life works the same way. You give your best with a sincere heart, clear intention, and mindful action. And then you must let go of the outcome. Not because you don't care, but because you know that trying to control too much only suffocates what's trying to bloom. In today's world, we're constantly told, be proactive, stay in control, never stop striving. And those ideas have their place. But without wisdom, striving turns into stress. Control becomes pressure. In Buddhism, we're taught true power doesn't lie in tension. It lies in knowing when to release. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means knowing your limits. It means recognizing that beyond a certain point, you're no longer in charge. Some outcomes are born of deeper causes and conditions beyond what your will alone can command. There's a story about a potter who shapes beautiful clay vessels. But not every piece turns out perfect. Some crack, some warp. He once said, "I do my part. I shape, I mold. I fire the kiln, but the rest belongs to the fire and the clay." Life is like that too. Sometimes your only job is to show up, give your heart, and then step aside. Trust life. Trust karma. Trust time. Trust the natural unfolding of what you've planted. And when you stop trying to force things, something magical happens, peace arises. Your body softens. Your breath deepens. Your heart feels lighter. You no longer carry the weight of the world. You return to your rightful place, a mindful soul acting wisely and surrendering gracefully. Some say the strongest people are those who never give up, but I believe the strongest are those who know when to walk away, not out of fear or fatigue, but from a deep understanding that not everything is meant to be held. You don't have to win every battle. You just have to make sure you don't lose yourself. In Buddhism, surrender means releasing the ego that craves control. It means letting go of the fear-driven mind, the anxious heart, the clinging hands. It means accepting that you don't have to know every detail of the future, nor cling to every possible result. All you have to do is live fully, right here, and breathe. And then almost effortlessly, the good begins to arrive, not because you chased it, but because you made space for it. You're no longer blocking the flow. You've become a quiet, graceful part of it. 6. Peace is always in the present moment. Have you noticed something? The times we feel most anxious usually aren't because of what's happening right now. It's because of what might happen next. What if things don't go as planned? What if they don't understand me? What if I fail? What if tomorrow is worse than today? These what-ifs may seem harmless at first, but once you start believing them, your mind begins to wander far away from this moment. And before you know it, your body is sitting still. But your mind is lost in a foggy future, filled with things that haven't even happened. The Buddha taught that anxiety doesn't live in the present. It lives in the imagined future. And that future, it's like a movie set made by the mind. You're the director. You're the actor. And you're also the one who feels every emotion from a script that isn't even real. Haven't you worried about something for days, only to have it turn out just fine? Haven't you assumed someone was upset with you, but later found they were just busy? And haven't you once thought, "I can't handle this"? But then you actually did. So, where did all that fear live? Not in the present, not in reality, but in your thoughts. That's why, in Buddhist meditation, we're constantly reminded to return. Return to the body. Return to the breath. Return to this very moment, because anxiety cannot survive when you're fully present. Worry is a thief. It steals the life that's unfolding right in front of you. When you're lost in fear, you no longer hear the birds outside your window. You don't feel the warmth of the tea in your hands. You can't truly see the loved one sitting next to you because your mind is somewhere else. But when you return, you realize something beautiful. Peace was never gone. You just stepped away from it. Peace doesn't wait for you in the future. It's right here in this breath, in this blink, in the feeling of your feet on the ground, in the sound of a fan spinning, in your simple, non-judging awareness that you are alive. You can try it now. Pause for a few seconds. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. Feel your heartbeat. Take a slow inhale and a soft exhale. Then ask yourself, right now, in this very moment, is anything truly threatening me? Probably not. Our suffering often comes not from reality, but from a mind that's left the now, lost in unhealed memories or imagined disasters. But neither of those are the real living moment. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches a practice both simple and profound. Mindfulness of the body in the body. Feelings in the feelings. Mind in the mind. Phenomena in the phenomena. Each line brings your awareness back to what is. For example, when the mind feels restless, just return to the breath, inhaling. I know I'm inhaling. Exhaling, I know I'm exhaling. It sounds simple, but repeated in mindfulness, these words can pull you out of the storm of anxiety. Do you feel how when your mind is rooted in the present life feels lighter? You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to be certain about tomorrow. You just need to know, right now, you're here, you're enough, and you are at peace. We humans, with our beautiful, complex minds, sometimes forget this, but we can train ourselves to come back, bit by bit, through the breath, through mindful steps, through the sound of a bell, through a gaze that doesn't judge. So if today you find yourself caught in worry, don't blame yourself. Just return, gently, patiently. No rush, no force. Just remember, peace is always in the present moment, not after everything is solved, not when certainty arrives, but right here when you pause and fully arrive. 7. Life begins to flow when you step back. Have you ever found yourself exhausted, completely drained, because you were trying to control too many things at once? Trying to plan every little detail, trying to make everything go your way, trying to keep people close, trying to push things to move faster. But the more you tried, the more lost and anxious you felt. I believe all of us have been there. And then one day, you come to a simple but profound realization. The more you force, the more things get stuck. The more you try to control, the more chaos you create. It's a truth many people struggle to accept. We humans carry a deep fear of letting go. We fear that if we don't control things, everything will fall apart. We fear that if we don't step in, others will mess it up. We fear that if we stop holding tight, life will spin off course. But the tighter you grip, the more exhausted you become. The more you force, the more tangled it gets. The more you interfere, the more you block the natural flow. In Buddhism, this is called attachment, mixed with ignorance, clinging to what we want while not seeing things as they truly are. When we don't trust the natural flow of karma and cause and effect, we start to intervene, fix, pull, push. And in doing so, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. Have you noticed? Sometimes the harder you try to make things right, the more they fall apart. Learning to step back is a powerful lesson. Stepping back doesn't mean giving up. It means beginning to trust that life has its own wisdom. Life doesn't need to be forced to move. It's already moving, just not always the way we expect. When you step back, the air clears, the energy softens, others have space to breathe, and you get a chance to see things clearly rather than just reacting. In meditation, we call this mindful letting go. It's not laziness. It's not indifference. It's action from clarity. You do what's necessary and then stop at the right moment, allowing causes and conditions to bloom in their own time. There's a beautiful image in the scriptures, like a wise sailor who doesn't always row with force. Sometimes, knowing when to let the boat drift with the wind is part of mastering the journey. Life is like a river, not a machine you can program. You can't make someone love you the way you want. You can't speed up or slow down time. You can't control every outcome, reaction, or thought, but you can choose how you show up. You can learn to stand still in faith. Faith that if you live kindly, mindfully, and with contentment, then even if life winds through strange turns, it will still take you where you need to be. Not because you forced it, but because you knew when to let go, how to balance, and when to trust. And that's when life begins to flow. The right things start to come your way. The relationships feel lighter and more real. Opportunities show up not because you chase them, but because you stopped blocking them with your grasping and over-involvement. So, if today you're feeling burned out, stuck in a swirl of chaos, pause and ask yourself, am I interfering too much? Am I forcing something to go my way without giving it the space to breathe, to unfold, to simply be what it is? If so, try stepping back just a little, enough to see clearly, enough to breathe deeply, and enough to give life a chance to work with you again. 8. True love doesn't control. It sets you free. Have you ever believed that loving someone means holding on tightly, keeping them in sight, keeping them in your thoughts, holding on to every message, every reply, every gesture, just to make sure they still belong to you? Most of us grow up with a version of love that is deeply tied to possession. We're told that if you love someone, you must hold on. You must know everything about them. You must make sure they never walk away. And if they do, then maybe you just weren't good enough. But in Buddhist teachings, that's not what real love is. The Buddha called true love metta, loving kindness. And loving kindness doesn't come with chains. It doesn't come with control. Real love is always rooted in freedom and release. To love someone doesn't mean needing them to stay so you can feel secure. It means wishing them peace, whether they are near or far. Because some forms of love suffocate not from a lack of emotion, but from a lack of space. In Buddhism, we learn love is not a rope. It's a pair of wings. If the one you love needs to fly, let them fly with ease. And if they return, it's because where you stand is a place of warmth, safety, and non-attachment. This isn't easy because all humans carry fear. Fear of losing someone, fear of being left behind, fear that one day will no longer be needed. But take a moment and ask yourself, are you truly loving this person? Or are you just holding on to them to fill the emptiness inside you? If love makes you anxious, if love makes you feel like you have to watch chase or cling, then maybe it's not love but attachment dressed up in emotion. True love means wanting the other person to be happy, even if that happiness has nothing to do with you. You may have heard this quote, "If you love a flower, don't pick it, because picking it will end its life. But if you truly love it, you'll nurture it where it is free to bloom." In the same way, the one you love doesn't need to be held down by your fear, your control, or even your tears. They need to be embraced with understanding, with trust, and with enough space to be fully themselves. And the strange thing is, when you let go of control, you don't lose them. You set yourself free. You're no longer a prisoner to their moods, no longer a hostage to their replies or their silence. You return to your own center, not because you love less, but because you love with a heart strong enough not to control. True love expands you. It doesn't shrink you. It opens you. It doesn't close you off. It builds trust, not suspicion. It brings calm, not restlessness. And the person you love, they will feel that difference. They'll feel safe in your presence. Not judged, not watched, not controlled. And that space is what makes love last. Not chains, not fear, but freedom. So today, if you're in a relationship, ask yourself, am I truly loving this person? Or am I trying to control them? Do I want them to be at peace? Or do I just need them here to calm my own fears? Is my love freeing or is it binding? When you can answer these questions honestly, you'll see the deepest love doesn't come from holding on. It comes from knowing when to let go, with compassion and wisdom. In the end, perhaps the greatest lesson Buddhism offers is not about what we must do, but what we're finally willing to lay down. When you stop trying to control the flow of life, you begin to truly live. When you stop holding tightly to those you love, you begin to truly love. When you take a step back, that's when life steps in to lift you up. If today's message touched your heart, we invite you to stay connected with Buddhism Seeds, a space to nourish stillness, wisdom, and compassion within you every day. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs peace right now, and leave a comment below. What was the most meaningful lesson you took from today's reflection? We would love to hear your story. May you walk through life with light steps and a peaceful heart.